A lot of people have been asking me, Marsh, do you think that talented head coach candidates would want to work for the New York Giants? And I've been wondering that same question, and I think they would. Adam Schefter does as well. He says the Giants job, this is going to be a desirable job. So I wanted to try something a little bit different on today's show. We're going to go over the two head coach openings right now, the Giants and the Titans, and I've listed 6 other NFL teams that might fire their head coach, and we are going to power rank which job would be the best for the best candidates and see where the Giants stack up. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and I kindly ask you to do so if you haven't. Here at Chat Sports, we have a Lions channel, and it is a race to 100,000 subscribers. We have the lead, but it's not a big enough lead, and I want to get there first, and I want to show the bosses that the Giants fans are the best fans out there. So if you love the Giants, you want to beat Lions Talk to 100K, hit that sub button for me. You are watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. What makes the Giants head coaching job desirable to candidates? Where does it stack up when it comes to potential openings across the NFL? I reached out to some of my other coworkers here at Chat Sports, so I couldn't be biased, and then we'll bring on producer AC to share his thoughts as well. Let's start with this. What makes the Giants head coaching job desirable? Number one, Jaxson Dart. It looks like you have your franchise quarterback in Jaxson. And I believe any head coach candidate that is looking at these jobs, it's going to be a priority for them to either have the ability to draft, acquire the next franchise quarterback, or already have that on the team. And luckily for the Giants, they already have that. I also think it's really a nice piece of the puzzle that you have a franchise left tackle in Andrew Thomas. A lot of times in the league, you can have a quarterback, but if you don't have an offensive line to protect him, it doesn't really matter. The New York Giants, they have both of those things. You also have a lot of talented players on the defensive line. Has it produced results this year? No. But I promise you, people are still going to be looking at Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau as one of the most talented pass rushers in the NFL. And that coach will probably think that they can fix them and get the right defensive coordinator in position to do so. I also think, and look, I've been critical of Joe Schoen, and I don't think he should be the general manager of this team. You do have some young building blocks as well. Malik Nabers, superstar wide receiver. Cam Skattebo looks like he is going to have a solid career in the NFL as a running back. You have some pieces on defense. You have a corner in Paulson Adebo who has showed signs that he can play like a top corner. You have some young building blocks on this football team. You're also most likely going to have a top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. So you have a franchise quarterback, you have a left tackle, you have people on the D-line that are extremely talented, you have Skattebo, you have Malik Nabers, and you're probably going to have a top 5 draft pick as well. Another thing, and I would actually say the best thing that Joe Schoen has done since he took over as the Giants general manager is take them out of salary cap hell. The Giants are in a relative good spot when it comes to their overall salary cap health. He hasn't really ruined the future books, and the Giants head coach could be involved in who the Giants go out and sign. And maybe even this, the Giants head coach might actually get to pick who the next general manager of this football team is. I think it's pretty similar, and we're going to talk about this later, to the Jacksonville Jaguars job, where Liam Cohen took that job because he was able to get the former GM out of there and bring in a guy that he wanted to work with. That might happen here. Say there's a great candidate out there and he says, look, I'd love to be the Giants head coach, but I don't want to work for Joe Schoen. I want this guy to be the GM. And if the Giants are in love with that candidate, I think that they would pull the trigger on that. Then you have things like you're a blue blood organization. You've been in the National Football League for 101 years. How much does the New York market factor into things? We know that you can microwave stardom in the NFL. Brian Daboll was looked at as one of the best coaches in the NFL after 1 year, winning head coach of the year. You can be an overnight success story in this city. How much does that factor in as well? All right, so there's 2 current NFL head coaching openings right now. The New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans. And look, I do think that there are some things to like about the Tennessee Titans job, especially if you like Cam Ward. Look, I still think Cam Ward is going to be a successful quarterback in this league if he has the proper coaching and talent around him. Like we talked about with Jaxson Dart being a selling point, Cam Ward could be a selling point to other head coaching candidates. They have some pieces on defense, but I do think the Giants' job is considerably better than the Tennessee Titans. And other teams that I think could fire their head coaches. I think the Arizona Cardinals could be on that list. I kind of lean towards them being maybe the least likely to do so of these six, but I think they are on this list. And I think the Giants' job is better than that. I think the Atlanta Falcons could fire their coach. I talked to my guy, Moose, who covers the Falcons here at Chat Sports, and he said, yeah, I think there's a large probability that gets done. And as biased as I am, and we'll have people to hold me accountable and share their thoughts as well that aren't Giants fans, I think the Giants' job is better than the Atlanta Falcons' job. They don't have a first-round pick this year. Michael Penix is coming off an ACL injury. I don't know about that job. The Cincinnati Bengals, look, Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when healthy. They have stars at wide receiver. I think that would be a very, very attractive job and maybe even more attractive than the New York Giants. For the Cleveland Browns, they don't have their franchise quarterback. Their ownership is a little bit sketchy. No one's been able to win there consistently. I would rank the Giants' job above that. The Las Vegas Raiders, they could fire Pete Carroll after the season. And I think the Giants' job is much more attractive than the Raiders. Giants have a quarterback. Raiders don't. Giants ownership, although hasn't won in a while consistently, the Raiders are the Giants are bad. The Raiders are an absolute dumpster fire. For the Miami Dolphins, they have a quarterback, but is he the quarterback? He's expensive as well. Their roster is aging. I don't think it's the worst job on this list, but I don't think it's better than the New York Giants. So I think those are 6 jobs that could become available. And then there's some long shot openings as well. I don't know how likely these are. The Buffalo Bills, do they look to fire McDermott if they fall short in the playoffs this year and just try something else to try to get Josh Allen over the hump? Look, if that job becomes available, that's going to be better for anyone for the New York Giants because you got Josh Allen, who I think is the best quarterback in the National Football League, right alongside Patrick Mahomes. The Green Bay Packers, I think that would probably be a job that is looked at and coveted more than Big Blue. You have Jordan Love. You got a lot of talented players on defense. You got great ownership. Your front office is awesome. They're always in contention. Like, when is the last time the Packers had a bad season? They would be up there. Pittsburgh Steelers, if they fire Mike Tomlin, I will do everything it takes on this show to make sure that everyone knows Mike Tomlin is the guy for the Giants. But I actually think the Giants would be better than the Pittsburgh Steelers because you have your quarterback. They don't. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are in all-in mode right now. Their roster is a little bit over the hill. I think it's close, but I'd roll with the New York Giants. I reached out to my guys, Tom Downey and Harrison Graham, who Tom covers the Cowboys here. He hates the Giants. Harrison covers the Bears. And I asked them, I listed the 6 head coaching jobs, I believe it was. Or it was 8, actually. It was 8. I can't do math. To rank the 8 head coaching jobs, the ones we talked about, the Giants, the Titans, the Cardinals, and the ones not the unlikely firings of the Bills, Packers, and the Steelers. Tom Downey, I said, rank these for me, my guy. He said tier 1 would be the Giants/the Bengals. In theory, the Giants have the quarterback. Most stable orgs for better or worse. Or I think he's talking about the Bengals first. He goes, in theory, have the quarterback, most stable orgs for better or worse. Giants win ownership, Bengals win quarterback, but the team is cheap. Tier 2, Titans/Falcons. Maybe have the quarterback, but one big issue, Titans ownership, Falcons draft pick issues. Tier 3, Dolphins Cardinals. Stuck with an expensive quarterback, sometimes weird ownerships. Tier 4, Raiders Browns. No quarterback, ownership can be a shit show. Harrison Graham listing it as the Giants is number 1. He said, surefire number 1. If they fire Joe Schoen, would consider Bengals if not. Number 2, the Cincinnati Bengals. Cheap ownership historically, but somewhat deterred off that this offseason, and they have Joe Burrow. Arizona Cardinals like their pieces, but owner blows. LOL. Right QB could change a lot. Tennessee Titans, roster mostly blows, but under the radar market, and if you like Cam Ward, fairly attractive plus bad division. The Raiders, number 5. Mark Davis can't figure it out, but in theory, have a lot of capital, especially if they trade Crosby. Number 6, the Miami Dolphins. Tua contract is problematic for short term, but some pieces there. Ownership stinks. Number 7, Atlanta Falcons. Don't know if Penix is the guy. Plus, might not be ready to start 2026. No first-round pick. And he lists the Browns as the last, saying they do have an aggressive owner, but still have QB issues, drama. Watson contract eventually has to be dealt with. So, want to bring on my guy Andrew Connell, producer of the show. We are obviously both diehard Giants fans. We are biased, but we reached out to people who are not biased at all. And I think they're absolutely right. I actually do think those 8 jobs become available. The Giants are the most attractive. And I may be giving Joe Schoen credit, but he still must go.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at a couple things. Obviously, bias towards the New York market, but there's no place, if you're going to win, there's no place in winning like New York. We referenced the 2022 season for the Giants, how electric that was. The city was lit up. Brian Daboll was getting raised up on chairs and called a hero for bringing the Giants back. So a coach has to see that and think that's going to tempt certain people into wanting to take the Giants head coaching job. And then you look at why this team was expected to maybe be better than they are this season. They do have a lot of talent on the roster. They've got some high-end players. You got Brian Burns. You have guys like Malik Nabers and now Dart and Skattebo have emerged this year. I think the biggest issue with the Giants is their depth, their roster depth. And if you're going to get a head coach, you're going to have multiple years to hopefully build that out with Joe Schoen or whoever the GM is. That can really kind of take this roster from low end, middle of the pack to maybe one of the better ones in the league.
And that's the reason this video is everybody's going to be trying to go get the top candidate. What is going to make the Giants job more attractive than those other ones? We've tried to paint that picture today. And one thing I'm just thinking of now is, yeah, the Bengals have a quarterback. Maybe some other teams have a quarterback. The Giants have a quarterback as well, and he is on a cost-controlled, cheap contract for the next 4 years, and you could be ultra aggressive out of the gates trying to build around him. And I circle back to the point that we talked about before the show and on today's show is that head coach, he might actually be able to pick who his next general manager is.
Yeah, I thought about that when we were talking. We were talking about this before the show about what may make the job attractive, what may not make it attractive, and like the idea of maybe someone not wanting to work with Joe Schoen and really unprecedented situation that you referenced with Jacksonville last year where Liam Cohen came in and Trent Baalke led the search. They said they were keeping him, and then he ended up being fired. So
yeah, they interviewed Cohen. He said no. The Jags had got word that Cohen would take the job if they fired Baalke, so they did. And I think that is something similar the New York Giants could do.
Giants can dream.
Yeah, say Mike Tomlin becomes available, and Tomlin says, I want to be the Giants head coach, but I don't want to work for Joe Schoen. I will pack his bags, and I will drive into whatever city he wants to move in, being Joe Schoen. And I think the Giants could potentially be up to that. We've heard some rumors, Andrew, over the last couple of weeks that Joe is going to lead the search, but there will be a season review at the end of the year where his job will be discussed and ultimately decided if he keeps it or not.
Yeah, I think you have to hold him accountable. That's really it. Like we said, there is some talent. Like we just listed all the reasons why the Giants are a good job, and a lot of that has to do with the players. And some of them Joe brought in, some of them he didn't. But you have to hold him accountable and evaluate him. And I understand why it's trickier to make a GM change in the middle of the season than a coaching change necessarily. You don't want to lose all your scouting for that upcoming NFL draft, at least the college scouting. You don't want to adjust that midseason. So we'll see. I don't think that Joe Schoen is 100% guaranteed to be safe. And then last thing on the coaching search, I think something that's underrated is you have to look at if someone's choosing a job, AFC versus NFC. You want to go up against the quarterbacks in the AFC every single year, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. The NFC doesn't have a guy of that caliber. I don't know if you're a Jalen Hurts guy. I don't think many of our viewers probably are, but they don't have that. Those are clearly the top 4 quarterbacks in the league. I don't know who the last guy you mentioned was. I missed that. But
Herbert, another guy in the AFC you need to be worried about. That's a great point. There's a lot more quarterback talent in the AFC than there is the NFC. And just the history, and maybe we overrate that as fans, but would you rather, and this is as biased as it gets, would you rather be the head coach of the New York Giants or would you rather be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals?
If you're a guy that doesn't want the pressure of New York, I don't want you as our coach. So I think anyone who's been around the NFL long enough, which all these guys most definitely will have been, will value the New York Giants organization. I think despite everything that's happened recently, it's still considered a top organization in the NFL.
Giants need to get this hire right, and you probably need to select the best head coach that's going to get a job this year, and that's what every organization is thinking. So it's kind of like flips on its head to where like the Giants are trying to find the next head coach, but that next head coach is trying to find the right team as well. Like say it's Chris Shula. I'm sure he's going to have multiple suitors out there. How do the Giants separate themselves from the other teams? Trying to paint that picture today. I actually think they are in a pretty good spot. I mean, look, when you had the 5th, 7th, 6th, 3rd pick in the NFL draft, you better have hit on some of those guys. Unfortunately, we didn't hit on all of those. Coming up next, though, to close out the show, I'm going to give you my current power rankings. Current, which means it will change. I promise. Current power rankings will be the next head coach for the New York Giants. My power rankings. Not what I think, who I want. Marsh. Who does Marsh want? But I want you to get this hoodie because it is on a major sale. Almost 50% off. Chatsports.com/Giants hoodie. Chatsports.com/Giants hoodie was $80. Now it's $48. All right, let's close out the show with my current power rankings of who I want the Giants to hire as their next head coach. Again, it's November 19th, November 18th. Shout out to Drake. But November 19th, a lot could change, and a lot will change. But right now, I lean towards Chris Shula being the favorite for me, the current defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. The way Jay Glazer spoke about him through essentially the mouthpiece of Sean McVay was something that won me over. I've gone back and I've watched hours of Chris Shula at the podium. I like the way he controls the room. I like what he's about. I think he's a great defensive mind. I think he's a young leader of men, and I believe he's got that. He's just got that it factor as a head coach. He's also got NFL royalty in the bloodlines. He's got some ties to the organization. Mike Shula was an offensive coordinator here in the late 20-teens. So Shula, for me, the defensive coordinator, is number one. Number two is Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. And these guys are almost like 1A, 1B for me. And like ideally in a perfect world, you do hire an offensive coordinator type of head coach. That way you can pair him with Jaxson Dart. And when Chris Shula, compared to if Chris Shula's the head coach, and if he nails the offensive coordinator hire, that guy's just going to leave in a year or two to go be a new head coach. So kind of a toss-up between Shula and Kubiak for me, but those guys are 1 and 2. I then look at someone like Jesse Minter, the current defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, has those ties to the Harbaugh brothers, spent some time within Michigan. At Michigan, also spent time when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens. He is someone that has been talked about in a very positive light as well, and I like the way that he goes about his business when it comes to being a leader of men, getting the most out of his players, and learning from other great coaches like the Harbaugh brothers. So I would have Minter number 3 on my list. Number 4, I would have Jeff Hafley, the current defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. He is someone that I liked his press conference as well, and that's really all I got to go on it. Like, obviously, what do you do as the head coach? I think he's done a great job as a defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. I didn't love that the Giants were able to just run the ball all over them, but, like, for the large chunk of the year, they've been one of the best defenses in the NFL. He has ties to the area, college head coach. Not that successful at Boston College, but for right now, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think his head coaching crop is that elite. He makes my number 4, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but I got Mike McCarthy number 5. And look, if the Giants hire Mike McCarthy, am I going to be mad? No. Am I going to be thrilled? No. Do I understand why they would do it? Yeah. 3 straight 12-win seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. He took Dak Prescott to another level. They had the number 1 scoring offense twice in his tenure with Dallas, and he's won a Super Bowl in this league. You don't have to worry about a guy that's never been a head coach before. You don't have to worry about someone that can handle the New York media. He's worked with great quarterbacks. Not my top choice. That's someone I'm beating the door down to go hire him, but right now he does fall in at number 5 for me. I've given you 5 guys. I want to hear one from you. Who do you want the New York Giants to hire as their next head coach? Sound off for me in the comments section. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. We'll see you later.